What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I imagine that if you spend enough time out in LA, you end up subscribing to the lunacy that is what Bryan Cranston, Malcolm in the Middle dad and famous actor, has to say. I don't really understand why he said the things he said. I can only assume because he feels like some sort of guilt because he's a white male and he's had success in Hollywood. He's one of the best actors out there. I mean, Breaking Bad was a sensation. Malcolm in the Middle is excellent. His movies that he's in are always pretty good. But now he's come out and said that there needs to be limits on free speech, as well as he has some sort of issue with white blindness. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but he has it. And I'm not exactly sure how you fix that. Maybe you can cut it out with a super sharp knife from Kamikoto, though. Check out a quick word from this sponsor. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Kamikoto. That's right, Kamikoto makes Japanese steel kitchen knives using traditional techniques from Japan. Over 800 years of Japanese technology and expertise have gone into creating the steel that this knife has been meticulously handcrafted from, using techniques that date all the way back to the Edo period of Japan. Kamikoto only uses steel sourced from mills in Japan. Each knife comes in a beautiful, heavy-duty wood box. It makes sure that the knife is stored safely. Each knife is individually inspected and comes with a lifetime guarantee. These are knives that I personally own and use. I got a set through this promotion. Over Christmas, I used it to cut a beautiful brisket that I had made for the holidays, and cut ham and turkey and all sorts of things. Not only did it work flawlessly, but it was a talking point at the table. The knives felt like the perfect weight. They were perfectly balanced. And on top of all of this, just for you, my subscribers, you guys can get an additional $50 off any purchase you make with discount code TheQuartering. So click the link below and go to kamikoto.com/thequartering and use promo code TheQuartering to save an extra $50 today. Now, here's the article. Bryan Cranston discusses his white blindness and why free speech limits are vital. This is according to the Daily Wire. It's also been covered in multiple other places. We're going to take a look. While there needs to be free speech limits are vital, there needs to be quote-unquote guardrails. I'm not exactly sure what that means. We'll find out. Bryan Cranston can afford to be picking about his acting roles. The 62-year-old industry veteran took on the part of a lifetime in Breaking Bad, solidifying his status as Hollywood legend with a bank account to match. He's been discerning with project ever since the series ended in 2013. Most recently, Cranston walked away from the chance to play about an Englishman who foils an attempt by the Klan to turn his fishing lodge into a meeting place. Instead taking the helm of the Foreigner, the Malcolm in the Middle alum chose the star in a different play entirely. Quote, "It's a privileged viewpoint to be able to look at the Klan and laugh at them and belittle them for their broken and hateful ideology," Cranston told the LA Times. But the Klan in Charlottesville and Supremes, that's still happening, and that's not funny. Oh, where? Like 6 of them? It's not funny to any group that is marginalized by these groups' hatred. What power do they have? Let me ask you, in order to marginalize somebody, in order to control somebody, you have to have some level of power, right? So how many of these sheet-wearing weirdos, and hey, look, I agree. There's probably, let's give it a huge number. Okay, let's give it a huge number. I think it's way less than this, but let's say 1,000. What institutional power do they have? What power do they have to marginalize anybody? What are they, 100 years old? Who are these people? The actor recalled laughing at a story, according to the Times, that helped him realize his own white privilege. Instead of going with that opportunity, he headed in a new direction. Who talks like this? I imagine he's desperate to not get canceled. I can only assume that's why. And then I realized, oh my God, if there's one, there's two. And if there's two, there's 20 blind spots that I have. What else am I blind to? Cranston continued. If we're taking up space with a very palatable play from the 1980s, where rich white old men can laugh at white supremacists and say shame on you and have a good night in theater, things need to change. I need to change. Don't you think that mocking these people is pretty powerful? Like, don't you think looking back, the Inglorious movie, right? Looking back at the bad guys from WW2 and laughing at how absurdly stupid they were. Like, that's the reaction we're supposed to have. We're not supposed to fear them, Bryan. That's what CNN wants you to do. They want you to think their numbers are vast and that they're very scary, but I'm not scared of them. And nobody should be. They don't carry any real numbers or any real power, and you're supposed to laugh at them. That's the point. They're the butt of the joke. The LA Times described Cranston's character Nicholas in the production Power of Sale as an aging, highly respected Harvard professor who faces intense backlash for inviting a Big H denier named Carver to speak at the annual symposium. As students' protests intensify, Nicholas presses forward, claiming his intention is to give Carver and his repugnant ideas a thorough dressing down in a debate. That's the way you're supposed to do it. The best disinfectant for bad ideas is always and will always be sunlight. Nicholas is described as a free speech absolutist who believes, quote, the answer to hate speech is more speech. Again, wow, what a great idea. I like this Nicholas character. Cranston apparently said the play took on new meaning following the passing of George St. Floyd and transformed Cranston who says in these troubling years, he came to face with his own white blindness and privilege. The play questions if free speech should have limits or if some rhetoric should be prohibited. Power of Sale is described as questioning these concepts. The Times said, quote, the play asks if there should be limits to free speech. No. And if so, why? There shouldn't be. It tests the boundaries of free speech ideal by examining the traditional arbiters of that speech, those who get to decide whose voice is lifted and whose voice is quashed. It suggests the existence of a moral compass in an age when truth is often called relative by special interest groups who oppose it. Then Bryan Cranston goes on to say, there needs to be barriers. There needs to be guardrails, the Emmy Award winner told the publication. If someone wants to say the Big H was a hoax, which is against history, to give that person space to amplify speech is not tolerance, it's abusive. Incorrect. Let me ask you, Bryan Cranston, and anybody who would agree with this idea, okay? If somebody comes up to you and says something that you know to be untrue, right? And you don't let them say that to you. You don't debate them. You don't show them why it isn't true. You just, let's say, ignore them. Do you think their next move is going to be to change their mind? Of course not. It's the same logic of all these idiots that didn't like... Look, I think Alex Jones is a great entertainer. And over time, he's been right about more things than I think people would care to admit. But there's also some things that he said that are completely absurd. Now, maybe given enough time, he'll be found right, as has happened before, but maybe not. But I would never have advocated for his... Oh, let's use a better example. Let's say one of these super soldiers, right? One of these LARPers, Midwest kids who think they're fighting the machine. Would I want them deplatformed? No. Because all they're going to do is go underground and then find more people who they can speak to unopposed. And then, given enough time, one person finds another, who finds another, who finds another, who finds another, who finds 10 more, who finds 20 more, who finds 5,000 more. And that's how you build these movements, is when you allow their speech to go unchallenged. When you don't let people speak their mind, you lose the opportunity to change their mind. You don't get the opportunity to show them the error of their ways. When you silence them, that doesn't do anything. All it does is tell them that they're right, that you're just not ready to hear, quote unquote, their truth. Cranston insists he's just trying to make people think about these kinds of issues. A good play may not change your life, but it could change your day, he said. To go deeper and play A play can also stimulate the mind. Well, this is also a guy that's had some pretty interesting takes in the past. Cranston, this is via Bounding into Comics. Cranston has expressed these thoughts before while going after Samantha Bee. Cranston tweeted, "Samantha Bee, when we reduce the conversation to degrading vulgarity, we lose our argument, not to mention our credibility. Your customary wit gave way to debasement." He added, "Hate speech has no place in our society, especially by an influencer like you. Humble contrition might save your job." In another instance, he appeared to advocate that the government intervention is in regards to individuals who make comments he disagrees with. Speaking on the firing of Roseanne, Cranston tweeted, "This morning, Bob Iger quickly and easily determined that righteousness trumps profits by firing an open racist and anti-Semite from his company." Isn't Roseanne Jewish? I don't know. Is she? Isn't she? Or is she not? I don't know. I've never seen her have any. Oh, because of her stupid cookies joke? Is that what you're talking about? Where she baked cookies? Oh, are you saying that Sarah Silverman, who did the same sort of joke, who is definitely Jewish, is she anti-Semitic? You go on to say, "If our elected officials had the courage to do the same by declaring that country trumps partisanship, we'd have a healthier society." What does that even mean? Cranston also lauded modern safe spaces in an interview with the LA Times, saying, "What is safe? Well, emotionally safe, without judgment safe, all-inclusive safe, empathetic safe." And that's what gives me hope with new generations. Yeah, generations of kids that grow up never being opposed, never being challenged, are going to have a real hard time competing in the marketplace out there. I just guarantee it. They're going to grow up and they're going to keep getting fired from their jobs, and they're never going to learn how to grow. They're never going to know how to learn how to make their position, hold their position strong, how to change their mind when they receive new information, and they're going to suck at life. But yeah, good on you, Bryan Cranston. I'm glad you've pulled the ladder up behind you after years and years of crass jokes. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.